fundraisers, I'm Dawn Lego. It's time to buckle up for a new episode of Raise Nation Radio, the one and only podcast made to inspire fundraisers like you to continue making impacts in our communities, building better tomorrows, and exchanging ideas. So whether you're a trailblazer or seasoned pro, you'll pick up the trends that transform your fundraising. And together, we'll dive into lively conversations and chat with industry-leading fundraisers and thought leaders to explore those hot-button issues and innovative ideas. So stay with us for the next 30 minutes while we inspire you to embrace the future of fundraising. All right, let's get going. We are really going to talk about the future of fundraising today with the LLS organization, especially since they have recently been awarded the Innovative Nonprofit of the Year by the Raise 2022 conference, which really speaks about the future of fundraising and innovation, but we're going to dive into all sorts of things. The mission, everyone kind of knows LLS, but do we really know LLS? And just a lot of good storytelling behind the mission. So today with me, I'm so super excited to welcome to the show. We have Troy Dunmeyer, the CEO of LLS, and Coker Powell, who's the Chief Development Officer. Big job, both big jobs at LLS. So Troy, Coker, welcome to Raise Nation Radio.
Thanks so much, Dawn.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Thank you. I know our audience is going to want to get to know both of you better. It's just a big mission, the LLS. Everybody knows it. But you have big jobs to keep that mission moving forward. Why don't we let you get to know our audience a little bit better, let them get to know you better? Would you mind, maybe Coker, we'll start with you, just giving the introduction, tell us what you do, and maybe a little bit about you personally as well.
Sure. Thanks so much, Dawn. So Coker Powell, and I spent the last 20 years almost in nonprofit and in fundraising specifically. As you mentioned, I'm the Chief Development Officer here at LLS, which specifically means that I oversee our peer-to-peer campaigns, our business development, our direct-to-consumer initiatives, direct mail, and the like, as well as our pharma and healthcare initiatives here at LLS. And so that is what I do, my day job. I love working with a great team of folks around us to raise revenue to move the mission forward. And personally, I live in South Carolina with my husband and 3-year-old and 5-year-old.
Oh, wow. You're really busy. A 3 and 5-year-old, that keeps you hopping. Troy, Troy, can we get to know you a little better too?
Of course. So I have the privilege of serving as the Chief Operating Officer, and the title is a little misleading at times because it includes the traditional components of operations, IT, marketing, communications, things of that nature, but I also oversee all of our philanthropic efforts. So everything that Coker just mentioned, in addition to advancement, et cetera. So anything that touches philanthropy or operations of the organization, I have the joy of doing on a daily basis. And I say joy because I spent 23 years in the for-profit world before joining LLS 3 years ago. And I love everything we do, and I find complete joy in waking up to help humanity thrive beyond blood cancer. So I just couldn't be more excited about what we do at LLS and the great people that we get to work with, and the patients and the volunteers and all of that. Personally, I live in Tampa, Florida. My wife and I have 2, what I like to say, 4-legged children. Sheldon is our oldest cockapoo. He's 7. Penny is our youngest golden doodle. She's 4. They're incredibly awesome. They keep us very, very busy. Yeah, that's a little bit about us. I mean, they're certainly the light of our lives are those 2 bird children.
Well, you're both very, very busy, and you managed to keep a great mission at the top of the charts. And I want to start there, actually, because I think that LLS, it's a name. It's 3 letters that roll off your tongue, and we think we know what mission you serve, but do we really? So can we break that down and just make sure that our audience really knows exactly what you're doing, who you're serving, and what mission you're trying to advance? I think that's important.
For sure. I'll start off, and then Coker, feel free to add along the way. I think that overall the organization's sees a day or a place where the world is free of blood cancers. So when you say Leukemia Lymphoma Society, leukemia and lymphoma are both two types of blood cancers, but there are over 160 different types of blood cancers. And our aspiration is to get to that day where there is just no blood cancer doesn't exist in our world anymore. That's the goal. The way we get there is through curing those diseases, but also supporting the individuals that are diagnosed with those diseases and supporting their families as well. So we do that through research, a variety of patient services ranging from education and information to clinical trial support, et cetera, to financial aid and other assistance programs as well, to also advancing advocacy and fighting for greater access to care, greater affordability of care, things of that nature. So, I said it when I started with my introduction, I think that personally, every single person at LLS that works for the organization really does wake up every day with that idea of like, here's my purpose. My purpose is to help humanity thrive beyond blood cancer, that an individual that we don't want people just to survive these diseases. We want them to thrive. Because some of the treatments are obviously very toxic and can have long-term impacts for patients, but we don't want them to have that. We want them to have a fulfilled, thriving life where they are successful in whatever it is they choose to be successful in. So I would say that's a little bit more about sort of the vision, mission, and kind of our personal purpose, if you will.
Coker, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. Sure. Troy did a great job talking about the organization. To me, what I think makes LLS so special in the cancer space at large, and really was one of the reasons that compelled me to come work here 7.5 years ago, is I learned about the organization, and it makes me think about a conversation that I had with our CEO, Dr. Lou De Janeiro, when I was, many years ago, when I was looking to come here. And the way that he described to me the impact of our organization is he said, Coker, the blood is so accessible. So a researcher can draw blood. They can look at something in the microscope, underneath the microscope. They can test something. If that doesn't work, they can quickly go back to the patient, draw more blood. It's not invasive. You're not talking about going in and trying to get a hard tumor from somebody. And also, as a result of that, or additionally, in addition to that, one of the things that I think is really interesting is that the composition of blood cancer does not change outside the body. Whereas with a hard tumor, the composition of the tumor itself changes once it's outside the body. So what does that mean? That means that we have the ability to accelerate advancement much faster in the blood cancer space that then can really serve as a learning ground for other cancers. And so when you look at all of the cancers and all of the treatments out there, the bulk of them originated in blood cancer. And so when you think about our place in the cancer landscape and why we are so important, it's because we often serve as the pioneer in how cancer is treated.
For all cancers.
We are laser focused. Yes. And often we learn lessons in blood cancer that can oftentimes be applied to other cancers. And so we are, the thing that I think makes us so important and so special is that we are laser focused on blood cancer, but it has such an incredible effect across the board with cancer care. And it's just an incredibly remarkable organization that is leading the way to, as Troy said, not only surviving, but thriving beyond cancer.
So your mission is a mission that's impacting other missions, skin cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer, right? It all starts in the blood. So all the work that you're doing is not just important to eradicate any type of blood cancer, but it could potentially move the dial in so many other areas, is I think what I'm hearing you say. Is that right, Coker?
Potentially, yes. I mean, we know that by us being laser focused on what can happen in the blood cancer space, we have seen immunotherapy is a great example of this. So, immunotherapy really was something that originated in blood cancer and now is going on to have an impact in a variety of cancers. That many different areas are using the therapies that originated in blood cancer to help many cancers. And so
Yeah.
I think of our organization as being almost an incubator for cures, across the space.
Wow.
There's a really cool
it's
ripple
huge.
effect. Yeah, absolutely. I would describe it as a ripple effect. I think that like when Coker's talking about immunotherapy, there's a therapy called CAR T-cell therapy. And again, kind of pioneered within the blood cancer space. But now that same type of therapy is being tested and tried on physical tumors. And so I think that that's what's, again, really special and unique about working with individuals with blood cancer is that there is potential impact, positive impact out there for other cancer patients with physical tumors.
I didn't know. So I really thank you for that perspective, that just working within the scope of blood cancer can really have that ripple effect. And that's really powerful and encouraging. So thank you for what you do and the entire team in your organization every day, because looks like we can do so much in the world of blood cancer, within the world of cancer, but, just because of what you're doing. So I think I understand a little bit of the differential behind the mission, but what's the differential, do you believe, with LLS from other philanthropic organizations, especially in the minds of the people that you speak to, your constituencies, your donors, your supporters? How does LLS differentiate your organization?
Yeah, I think when no different than what we just spoke about in terms of the science, the science really does start with the patient and the individual. So I think above and beyond all else, and again, I would imagine this is very similar for other organizations, but I think what's really unique about LLS is many times the patients we work with get very involved in the solution. And what I mean by that is, when you take a look at the global pandemic, we engaged through our patient registry. We engaged existing patients, whether they were current or survivors. We engaged them as citizen scientists. So we learned about the impact of the COVID vaccine on patients that were treated for a range of blood cancers. And so I think that's those individuals are opting in for that experience. And so I think that's really unique for our organization, is to have patients who we are serving also actually acting on their behalf. It's almost like they're self-advocating in addition to having us as advocates for them. And so I think that also is kind of a model that we really operate under as an organization, which is we're conveners. So we would never, ever take credit as the sole reason why a solution, a treatment, et cetera, arrives at its final destination, because there are so many people that we convene in the process. So we work across so many different organizations with so many different researchers at academic institutions, people within the pharma space that we work with. We are really great at convening. It's quite remarkable, actually. I think coming from the for-profit world, it's a very highly competitive world where you're trying to take down your competition. And in this space, there's such great collaboration and partnership. And again, it's all centered on who doesn't want to see someone thrive in a healthy way in this world, right? I mean, why wouldn't we want that? So we're just really fortunate that we get to convene really brilliant people, ranging from the patients themselves to researchers, to volunteers, to philanthropists, and together that collective power is what really, I think, makes us very unique. It's the source of our creativity. So I would never say that we're the authors of our own creativity within fundraising or within philanthropy. Many times those are ideas that are surfaced from volunteers or philanthropists or fundraisers. And so I think that's what's really unique and neat about us, is that we're open to greatness comes from all different sources. And we certainly are humble enough to know that we're not the only source.
Wow. I don't even know what to say. That's me. Go ahead, Coker. I'm sorry. You wanted to add to that?
Well, no, I was just gonna, add to, as Troy said, that ability for us to convene and create collaborative partnerships. That really is why one of the primary reasons why we were just recognized by Fast Company as innovators in a 2022 brand that matters. And we were so thrilled to be the only cancer organization that made the list by Fast Company for the very reasons that Troy talks about.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about the brand that matters. That was 2022, and you're with for-profit companies there. That's not exclusive to the nonprofit community, and you were recognized as a brand that matters. Can you dive a little deeper into what that meant and what that recognition means to the organization?
I think it is super cool. The reason I think it's super cool,
very good.
Yes, I know. You're getting the really, really the intellectual descriptors I'm giving you are just incredible. But it is super cool, and the reason I say it's super cool is because you said it's such a mix of organizations across industries, and I think one of the things that we are so passionate about is, there are often these stereotypes that come with being labeled as a nonprofit organization. I think it helps us break out of some of those stereotypes. So, for example, that sometimes the organizations are slower than the for-profit space, or they don't bring to market or innovate as fast as the for-profit space. And so I think what's really neat is that we're demonstrating, and again, I think it was our team's nimbleness through the pandemic to show that we could really bust a lot of the norms of the way in which we worked and operated as an organization. It really helped us reframe and reshape. Like, we don't really talk about working at LLS is not like going to work. It's not a workplace. It's actually what we call a growth place, because a growth place is the intersection of life, work, and learning. And those things are no longer separate, right? We don't go someplace physical now to learn. We don't go someplace physical to work. And certainly our life, at any minute right now, my dogs could start barking. So life is happening while I'm working, while I'm learning. And so we've embraced that concept. And so I think that's embedded in that brand that matters is we've created this really cool growth place that allows people internally, employees and our volunteers, to thrive with their personal strengths, learn, grow, advance. We're big on growth mindset. We love learning. Failure doesn't really exist. It's just a learning opportunity. So all those things are embedded in that recognition. And so that's why I think it's just super cool. It's really neat to be recognized by a publication, an organization that does foster and think about creativity and innovation, and how we work and live. And so to be in that company is just really, really neat. And again, it's just a really huge credit to our team.
And the culture of your team, the mindset, yes. I'm hearing the humbleness. Is that a word, humbleness? But I'm hearing that's what I'm hearing. And it's remarkable. You deserve to be there. And, you're busting myths about nonprofits and trailblazing. In one way you mentioned was innovation. And the Raise 2022 brand recognized you as Innovative Nonprofit of the Year. I believe that during the pandemic time, you created 2 virtual fundraising campaigns, something new, and that they surpassed all targets, reached new audiences. So tell us a little bit more about the submission for the award and what it meant to you to actually be recognized as the Innovative Nonprofit of the Year. Again, in the spirit of busting those myths about nonprofits not being innovative.
Sure. Well, thank you, Dawn. And I want to start by saying, thank you so much to Raise Nation for giving us that award. It meant so much to our staff, to our teams, to our volunteers to be recognized in that way for their hard work and their effort. And, I think in many ways it is what Troy talked about in terms of our ability to move quickly and to adopt a mindset of we have to figure out the solution. We commit and then figure out how we're going to make it happen. And that commitment that our team made to blood cancer patients at the beginning of the year prior to the pandemic was that we were going to achieve certain revenue targets so that we could fund the mission. And when a giant hurdle like the pandemic hit, the team was rallying together to say, how are we still going to achieve the mission? It wasn't, oh, well, we're no longer going to achieve the revenue targets. It was, how are we going to get there in a different way, in a different capacity? And I think, one of the areas that you mentioned on was around our legacy team and training campaign. And, for those listeners who are familiar with our team and training campaign, this is really, when you talk about innovation, many years ago, we were seen as an organization who was innovating because we developed the Bib for Charity model, where fundraisers would run, whether it be the New York City Marathon, the Chicago Marathon, go down the list and raise funds for us, for LLS, and that was has been really a giant pillar of what built the peer-to-peer fundraising revenue stream for LLS as well as others in the industry. And, one of the challenges with that model that we faced in a giant way, the door slammed shut in our face in many ways, was because all of these marathons were being canceled because of COVID, because of the pandemic. And so we had these revenue goals that were associated with events that we did not have control of. So LLS does not control whether or not the New York City Marathon continues in the state of a pandemic. And it forced us to completely relook at our business model for team and training to say, do we just throw our hands up and say, oh, well, we're not going to be able to hit our targets. Our patients were too important to us for that. And so instead, the team very, very quickly said, what if could we develop our own event for team and training in a virtual space? And so we launched a program called the Resilience Challenge. As many of our people were feeling, locked in their homes and not able to leave to participate in a marathon, and we knew that the word resilience was, was something that resonated with people, not only our patients and volunteers, but just the nation and the world was, needing to feel that resilience in this time of COVID-19. So we launched our very first ever completely owned by LLS team and training event in a virtual capacity. And what we found was it was incredible. We raised in a very short amount of time, in just a few weeks, less than 6 weeks from the ideation of the event until when we concluded the event.
Wow.
We raised over $1 million and had tens of thousands of brand new people engage with us, as well as our legacy participants who now were joining us in a brand new way. And the other thing that we realized that I think is especially important, and as we talk about fundraisers and being as responsible as we can to the mission, is that in doing this resilience challenge, we had almost no cost associated with it because it was a completely virtual challenge. And we did it so quickly that the way that we activated our existing networks, I think our margins were like 97%. It was something
huge.
Incredible when you think about huge. And so that really was the first of its kind. It was, the first in 30 plus years of doing team and training where we owned our own event. And what it did is it opened our eyes to a whole new possibility for how we engage with this athletic audience. And I think you'll see a lot more to come with that.
I was just going to ask, is it going to stick around? Yeah, I was going to ask you that. That's interesting. I mean, that is a silver lining, I think, for the pandemic is we couldn't control what was happening to us, but we could control how we respond to it. And raising the white flag is not an option. And so you tried something new, and congratulations, great success. But now we've learned that maybe we can do more of that, which is super exciting. I think that's where you were going, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. I think the pandemic, and while challenging, as you said, it also did present, as you said, many silver linings, many great learning opportunities for us. And we've learned a lot. And, we would be remiss to not take those key learning lessons, things like how do we, when you think about the historic team in trading? How do we own more of our events? How do we cut the margin? How do we look at all parts of fundraising? And this was something that we did not only with team in training, but across all of our peer-to-peer campaigns, as we said, and how do we strip as much cost as we can out of the business, so that the things that we are spending money on are the most critical things to raise the most money possible to provide a great experience, of course, for our participants. But we challenged ourselves. We asked questions every single step along the way. The team was great at saying, is this a must-to-have? Is this a nice-to-have? And if it was a nice-to-have but not a must-to-have, we had to really think about, what was in the best interest of the patient, and also what was in the best interest of our organization in terms of what our priorities are, what our values are from a sustainability standpoint, just across the board. How can we strip the cost out of the business in a way that allows us to fund treatments faster? And that will forever change the way that we look at fundraising, and in particular, I think peer-to-peer fundraising. Does it mean that we're never going to go back in person? Of course not. I think that we have found, and many in the industry would tell you, that people are craving that human connection. But will we just go back to the way things were in 2018? I don't think so. I think that we have come to a place where we have learned really important and valuable lessons through the pandemic that will change, and that we will now have a hybrid situation of both virtual fundraising, in-person fundraising, but being very, very diligent about the costs that we put into the business so that we can fund the mission in the most efficient way possible.
You're being wonderful stewards of the mission and being fair to your supporters and your constituency base. I have been in fundraising for almost a decade and a half. I'll be celebrating my 13th anniversary at One Cause. And that's where I opened with this conversation. Thank you. I opened with 3 little letters, LLS. Everyone knows them, right? But do we really? I'm learning. I've known the LLS organization for quite a while now, but do we really know? And you're pulling me in. I'll be candid with you, just, how humble the organization is, willing to try everything, working together, whether it's volunteer or C-suite. It's just really remarkable. So kudos to you for the culture, and all of the awards and recognitions that you're receiving are very well deserving from Raise, from, Brands That Matter. I'm getting excited just talking to both of you, because it seems like it's a very exceptional culture that you deserve to be proud of. So congratulations on that. I'd love to ask you, though, what do you want people to know? Like, what are you most proud of? I think we heard a little bit of that. Or what is the greatest misconception out there that you just would like to clear up, as you've drawn people in today and now they're listening? So here's the chance to do that.
I think it's really no different than what's really kind of been articulated already. Is, I want people to know that we're an organization that can be trusted and counted on, and that we hold that, we have a giving promise that we hold ourselves to, because we know that giving takes a lot. And it requires community, and it is good, but it requires trust and honesty and integrity. And so we really do hold ourselves to this giving promise standard. And our results, I think, speak for some of that in terms of therapies that we've advanced over the years, treatment services that we provide, or services that we provide for patients, roles we've played along with other organizations in advancing legislation to improve cost of care or access to care. So I think, to me, modern day philanthropy is about finding organizations, doing your diligence, doing your research as a philanthropist or as a donor, doing your diligence and research, finding good organizations and letting them go do their good work. And so I think that's what I want people to know, is that we're a trusted organization, whether it be through 4-star rating through Charity Navigator, Superior through cause reports, or whatever the case may be. Beyond those ratings, I think the proof is in the results in terms of therapies advanced, legislation advanced, and patients that really appreciate, whether it be from what some might think is so small, but from gas money to get to a treatment, right? To supporting someone who has lost a loved one. I think all of those things are things that we do so that we can be counted on for this community that we serve, these blood cancer patients and their families that we serve. And so that's what I would want people to know, is that we keep the patient at the center of everything that we do. Our giving promise is something we hold ourselves accountable to. And it is really important for us to do so.
Lovely. I wanted to just pause there, that moment of quiet to just take that all in, that giving promise. I love that. Coco, were you going to say something? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to add to, there are so many things that I'm so proud of when you think about LLS and the impact of our organization and the things that we are doing. And, there are two other pieces that I would love for your listeners to know about us. One is we have a program called the Clinical Trial Support Center. So we are able to connect people to clinical trials. And, I'll tell you a brief story. So I had just joined the organization, had been here maybe 3 months. And my mom was telling me about a close friend of hers whose brother had a blood cancer diagnosis, and his doctors were telling him there's nothing else that can be done. We are at the end of the rope. There's nothing else. And I said, Mom, I've just been working here a few months. I know enough to be dangerous, but here is this number. Please tell your friend and her brother to call our Information Resource Center. And they may have to say the same thing, but they may have something else that they could share. They called our Information Resource Center, who took in, this is an incredible program, and I do think it's a differentiator for us as an organization. It is master's level nurses, oncology nurses, who are able to match people with clinical trials that they may qualify for. And a long story short of that is they were able to find a clinical trial for my mom's friend's brother, and he was able to go to Florida, participate in this clinical trial that was taking place, and he lived an additional 7 years. And
oh my God, I have chills.
It was incredible, and they had given him 2 weeks to live. And yet, because LLS was able to find a clinical trial and match them, 7 more years, he was able to see one daughter graduate from college. He was able to see another daughter get married, walk her down the aisle. Those are moments that LLS and that program gave this family. And it's
wow.
It's just a remarkable program that we have. And like Troy said, we are right there and
it was a phone call away.
Step of the way.
It was one phone call away. Yeah. One phone call changed exactly 2 weeks to 7 years.
That's right.
Remarkable.
That's right.
And I just have to throw in, sorry, Coco, really quick. I just got to throw this in. So since Dawn, you said it perfectly, one phone call. So that's 1-800-955-4572. So any of your listeners that know.
Wait, you have to repeat that, because I was going to ask. One more time on the phone number.
1-800-955-4572. And
great.
People can find that on LLS.org as well. But I think that any of your listeners that have a friend or family member or is remotely connected to someone that might have received a diagnosis, contacting the Information Resource Center is a great tool for anyone to help navigate that initial diagnosis and find out what support and services might be available. So sorry, Coco, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah.
And that's an important one.
Thank you.
I wanted to cover that though, too, because I'm going to ask and answer a question. Getting involved, making a donation, getting more information. It's all at lls.org. Very simple, right? lls.org. It's all there. Anything we would need, right? If we're a patient, if we're interested in clinical trials, volunteer, get involved, fundraise, donate, all at lls.org. Yeah, there we go.
All there.
Perfect. Super simple, super simple. So I think we have time for another question. We've been talking about the past and all the remarkable things that you've done, some great stories. Thank you so much for sharing. But what about the future? What are some of the, we're at the end of the year, right? A fun time for fundraisers, a hard time actually for fundraisers, but we're approaching a new year, 2023. What are some, the key priorities you're looking at, as you move into the new year? And I believe you might be having some leadership change and all of that. What can we talk about there that would be important to people listening?
Sure. I think, so you alluded to it, we have leadership change. So Dr. Lou, who is our amazing CEO and leader, has been with the organization for, north of a decade. I want to say 14. I'm so bad because I can't remember the exact number of years he's been with the organization, but it's been forever.
Forever.
And forever.
Good enough.
And he served as he started out within the research world and served as the chief scientific officer and eventually became our CEO. And he leaves an incredible legacy. And what's really cool is I think the hallmark of any great leader is whether or not the organization can succeed and move forward without their presence, because they've created the capability and capacity within all of those within the organization. And I can attest to the fact that that's the case. I have no doubt that as a new CEO is named, that one will embrace the individual, and then two, we will continue moving forward. And I think we've got a number of plans in place to continue to move this organization forward from, there's 8 critical areas of our mission that we're focused on. Really one of the largest initiatives there is our Dare to Dream pediatric initiative. So we have that going on, and that will continue to go on. And then really we've been working on mirroring up the work that we do. And you mentioned it earlier, but I want to highlight it, which is we don't operate individually within the organization. We are extremely collaborative. And when we haven't always, that's been a really fun journey for us, because we haven't always operated that way. Peer-to-peer wanted to operate in its own world. Advancement wanted to operate in its own world. Business development in its own world. And as I talk to peers across the industry, that's fairly common, that it's not, it's seen as my donor, my philanthropist, not our donor, our philanthropist. And at LLS, we have this thing called One LLS. We're one team in service to the patient. We're one team in service to the philanthropist. We're one team in service to the volunteer. And so we've done such great work to build this collaborative space now where it is about, regardless of where you work in this organization, whatever your title is or what your role is or your specialty, at all times, you are an advocate of the mission and you are advocate of the philanthropy that we do. We all can inspire someone to give generously to make an impact in the life of a blood cancer patient. So we just, that is going to continue to grow. And what's really neat is that we're going to start integrating really good technology to support the journey that both our patients go on with us, as well as our volunteers and our philanthropists. So we'll see full integration of our new CRM. We'll see some new tools and resources in terms of our constituent-facing peer-to-peer fundraising, things of that nature. So I'm really excited. I think we're finally making great strides to advance ourselves technologically, and that'll be met with a great culture internally. And I think that in the end, that means that we'll serve more patients, more philanthropists, more volunteers in a really, really productive way.
Well, I don't know how you're going to top all of your achievements in 2022, but there's no doubt you set the gold standard. You're the role model. I'm listening to you. You've touched on. I have the pleasure at my job here at One Cause to speak with thought leaders on a daily basis, and everything that they're saying, I feel like LLS is trying to achieve one way or the other, or has achieved. And you've certainly built that trust with me here today, and hopefully our entire audience that's listening. And I feel so badly that we've run out of time, because I want to talk about that Dare to Dream project and everything that that's doing. But I think I'm going to just have to invite you back for another show so that we can dive deeper into some of your impact and some of your programs and keep tabs on how you're doing. So could I get you back perhaps in a new episode in our new season? I hope you'll join us again, because it's infectious. We want to learn more about LLS and everything that you're doing. I know that project is pretty special. So hopefully we can have you back.
We love it, Dawn. Thank you.
That's great.
Absolutely.
Well, Fearless Fundraisers, unfortunately, we're that's about all the time we have for today. I know there's more we want to learn, but we'll do a part 2. That's the beauty of this. We can keep chatting. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's Raise Nation topic and your daily dose of fundraising inspiration. Please tune in for a new episode release every Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's Thursday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And in the meantime, listen to all the episodes on Raise Nation Radio. I think there's about 67 of them now. You can follow the channel that you like best to get notifications about our new guests. Fundraisers, as you just heard, are doing amazing things to build better tomorrows for our communities and hopefully eradicate blood cancer. The stories are awe-inspiring. I mean, one phone call turns 2 weeks life expectancy into 7 more years. You don't want to miss a single episode. I would like to thank our sponsor, OneCause, for making this episode possible. OneCause is driving the future of fundraising with easy-to-use software solutions that help nonprofits connect with their donors. Check it out at onecause.com. Visit the resource tab on the homepage for a broad catalog of podcasts, webinars, blogs, infographics. Hopefully you'll find them helpful. A huge shout out and thanks to my guests, Troy Dunmeyer and Coker Powell from LLS. Thank you so much for being with us today. Any last words from inspiration? We're going to go with both of you. Coker, let's start with you. Any last words of inspiration?
Sure. I think to keep the mission at front and center of all that you do, and to lead with the patient, and whatever your cause is, whatever it is that you are focused on to make our world and communities better, let that drive you forward. I think that has certainly been a recipe for success for us.
How about you, Troy?
Yeah, I would so totally agree with that. And I would add that if you are working for an organization, no matter who you are in the organization, challenge the status quo within your organization, be creative, be fearless, adopt that growth mindset, and learn and grow along the way. And then the real challenge is, if you are a senior leader of an organization, create the conditions where your people feel comfortable challenging the status quo, because that is really when I think about what's really driven our success, it is that we have created a culture where our people feel comfortable challenging the status quo, and that's where innovation really starts to thrive. So growth mindset all the way, and innovation, but it's all coming from creating the conditions where your people can challenge the status quo or the norm.
Well, I've so enjoyed this episode and talking to you both. Great advice. Fearless Fundraisers, that is a wrap. Until next time, I'm Dawn Lego. This is Raise Nation Radio, and you heard it from Troy. Stay fearless out there.